Welcome to the Rodeo Wagon Podcast, brought to you by the Western Edge app and produced by Cosmic Cowboys Productions. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you go and follow our great partners over at Sombrero Brands, Cowboys Finest Cowboy Hats, Bluegrass Engravings, JM Ranch Snap Racks, and Ranch Life. I'm doing good. Nice seeing you.
Good to see you.
I like your background.
This is my day job office.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How's it been going?
Pretty good. It's been a good week here. Busy
Yeah.
because, Josh and I were gone last week. So now we have to catch up on all the things. And it's calving season. So all the things are happening right now.
Right now. This is the time. Yeah. If
Yep.
you're going to be busy, you're going to be busy now.
Yes.
Oh, I guess to start it off, because a lot of our listeners probably don't know a lot about Bullfrog Creatives and what you're doing there. Kind of just explain a little bit about, what you've started, what you've created, and kind of where you're at and all of that.
Yeah, perfect. So my name is Heidi Foy. I am the creator of opportunities at Bullfrog Creatives. So Bullfrog, kind of just for a background, because everybody always asks me, like, where did you get the name? So Bullfrog was actually my head horse and my barrel horse in high school and through college. So it's all his fault. All the things are all his fault. The college scholarship was his fault. And this company kind of was created through opportunities that he gave me. So that's kind of the background of that. We originally started as kind of a PR and marketing company with a focus on kind of rodeo world, how we could help athletes manage their social media profiles. And then in 2020, when everything changed, everything shut down, I started having conversations with rodeo coaches and student athletes just to get more information out. There really was not a platform, and still is not a platform, for rodeo coaches to put all of their information, all rodeo coaches to put all their information in one place so that it's easily accessible by students. And so over the last 4 years, it's kind of morphed into this recruitment platform, which we have launched just recently in the last 6 months. So now both student athletes and rodeo coaches can join the community, join the platform, and there's a searchable directory. I think the happy accident is the searchable directory, but what we're really trying to provide is opportunities for student athletes to build relationships with coaches, not just as seniors, not just as juniors, like when it's really time to start that recruitment process, but as freshmen, so that as freshmen, I'm able to ask the right questions to get them to even think about, like, is college rodeo for me? What do I want to look for in a college coach? Because I think oftentimes parents and students are motivated by the wrong thing, which I think, and I'm guilty of this. What kind of school are you looking for? The one that gives me the most money? Like, listen, I get that. I also understand that, but that might not be the first question or the first thing that you want to look for. And so we're having those conversations with parents and students younger than juniors and seniors to try to get them prepared for that next step after high school.
That's fascinating to me, because I went to Three Rivers when I started. I'm finishing my degree. This is actually my last session, so I've got 2 more months left, and then I'll graduate with a bachelor's degree. But I'm doing online now, so I'm doing online, so I'm not part of any of the rodeo stuff. I kind of dipped into that. But for me, like, the biggest, part of that process was the lack of information.
Yes.
When I started rodeoing my senior year, and I played baseball, and so my background was more in these other sports where collegiate sports are very important if in that whole process, whereas the rodeo is a little bit different in the fact that you can go rodeo full time, make a living doing it, and never go to college. So
Yes.
I was confused by a lot of things. And obviously the scholarship for me was a big process, but I know, like, my high school, I forget what it was called, but there was basically I got free schooling for going to community college. So I had pretty much the schooling part covered,
Hmm.
but there was really no, for me, there was no way to really find out about the educational side of these schools, as far as coming from a rodeo, background. Like what was this going to look like with rodeo and education and the whole college rodeo process, like
Yeah.
how do the rodeos work? So,
So you bring up two points that I would love to talk more about. One of which is, um, if you are involved in other sports, it is very clear what the path to be recruited or to go to college and and do that sport is. It's very clear. All of the other sports are very clear on how to make that next move and make that transition from high school to collegiate sports or NCAA sports or NJCAA, whatever, wherever you end up going. And I think that's one of the pitfalls of college rodeo is that there really isn't a clear path, um, which is over the last 4 years has become super apparent that I maybe didn't do it the best way. Obviously, my experience was amazing. I wouldn't change it. But once I started having those conversations, only then was I like, I didn't know about this program. This might have been a better fit for me. There's structure or there's not structure or, whatever that looks like for the individual student athlete. But that clear path is just not there. And so I think one of the main goals of the platform is to help students and parents navigate that journey successfully. Like you can get through it and have a great college rodeo experience, or you can get through it and transfer mid-season because that wasn't the right coach, it wasn't the right college, it wasn't the right academic program. Like there's numerous things that can pop up. So I think one of the main goals is really to make the recruitment process more successful so that there's not as many transfers, or so that your student athlete just has a positive experience wherever they do land. The second point you bring up is that you didn't start riding bulls until you were a senior. You probably didn't think there was a chance on God's green earth that you could college rodeo.
no, and that was a big question mark, honestly, for me at the
Yeah,
beginning. And the people that, I like tried to get information from, being from Missouri, it wasn't like I was surrounded with bull riders. So I was
right.
almost by myself a little bit in that process. And I didn't, at the time, like the biggest question was like, am I going to be getting too deep? Like, is there going to be skill development and, knowing like which maybe schools would even kind of develop. Looking back, I know, like, for instance, Fort Scott, Kansas, they have a great program for riders, bull riders specifically, to develop their skills.
Hmm.
And where I went at the time, Three Rivers, they had just started. I think it was the second year that I joined in 2012, 2013, 2012, I believe. So
Yeah.
there was literally hardly any skill development on the bull riding side. The coaches were timed events. And
Hmm.
so we spent majority of our times in the roping pen and stuff. Was that okay? It was fine in like community and building relationships, but
Yeah.
like as a bull rider, like it was a detriment to my, skill development, which
Yeah, for
ultimately
sure.
led me to leave, and say, you know what,
Yeah.
this just isn't for me.
Well, and I'm guessing, one of the things that I get messages a lot, what questions do I'm going on a tour this weekend or next weekend. What questions do I ask? I don't even know what I don't know. So where do I start? And I think that when you get inside of that community, the Bullfrog Creatives community, we do weekly spotlights. I do interviews, and I don't call them interviews. I just have conversations with coaches about their programs. So we talk about, I would say that these are the questions that you should ask. And that's how I started these questions in 2020. Tell me about the community. How big is it? Like, not that I do a lot of shopping, but it gives you a good idea of what the community makeup is. Are there box stores? Are there mom and pop shops? What's the population? Um, okay, let's talk about the college. What's the campus like? Talk to me about academics. What are the highest academic programs that you see your rodeo kids going into? I don't expect the coaches to know all of the programs because depending on the program, there could be over 250 academic programs. So,
Mhm.
but let's talk about a kind of a basic idea of what programs are offered. Then we kind of scroll down, we talk about housing, we talk about on campus, off campus. There's a lot of programs that require freshmen or or student athletes to live on campus. What does that look like? What can I expect? If I'm a freshman, what does that look like for me? How do I eat? Are there meal plans? Like things that, unless you have an older sibling, you don't know to ask those. Where am I going to board my horses? What does a practice facility look like? Do you have stock? Do we have to go somewhere? Is it on campus? Is it off campus? Do I need to pay? Do I need to bring hay? Do you provide hay? Like all of these questions that you pull into the community, and then you are like, oh, this is a small community. I wasn't expecting that. Or, hopefully you're also setting up a tour. So you're going to see some of those things before that first day of class. But, we're talking about tours. Make sure you set up a tour. And I think that maybe in the traditional college sense, those kinds of questions are coming up in that process. But again, college rodeo isn't really traditional. There's not really a path, a normal path that you take. Well, let me take that back. I think the normal path that you take is one of two ways. My best friend went to college here and she talked to the coach and he's going to give me a scholarship. Or the second one is my dad knew that guy or my mom knew the coach there. They're going to give me a scholarship. So I would say those are the two normal paths. Now, in your instance, coming from Missouri, that might not be an option. There might not be as many connections, or especially if you're just starting out like you did, you might not have those connections in place already. And so I think this platform is really a benefit for those types of students. And I would add too that I think that student athletes, high school student athletes, are making the choice to not college rodeo, maybe because they didn't peak in high school or they weren't as successful as they think they should have been. Like, I didn't win a national title. There's no way a college is going to want me on their team. And I think that's a really, really common misconception. And there's student athletes out there right now that are even at the middle to end of junior year into senior year that are making that decision to not move forward with college rodeo because they didn't do as well as they think they should have. And I'm telling you, there are far too many coaches at the collegiate level that are looking for far more than just how well you compete inside the arena. And there are coaches that are dedicated to building strong humans, and that takes more than just being good on the back of a horse or on the back of a bull. And those are the types of students that we want to try to cultivate and build so that they can move on to the collegiate level.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about what you have, and I've, the last week, I've really been kind of looking in, and there's so much information,
Yeah.
but it's so important because that whole process, like you ran it off earlier, that can be so overwhelming. When you're coming in, even if you're well informed on the rodeo end, you've been rodeoing your whole life, there's still overwhelming information about the actual educational aspect, like you said, the housing, how you're going to live life in this whole entire structure, which is far different than high school. Even high school rodeo, that whole process is different. Especially for me, it was even more overwhelming because I was disconnected a little bit from the rodeo world. I was so fresh, being introduced to it. So the ability to be able to get that information and to be able to talk to those coaches and I one of my favorite quotes ever is Os Guinness, and he always said, "Contrast is the mother of clarity, and
Yes.
context is its handmaiden." And so, being able to really look at all of these schools and see the contrast there, and the contrast in information and what's available and what's not available. What scholarships can I get here, but also what is this cost of schooling there? Because schooling is expensive and scholarships are great, but the price difference between two different schools can be quite different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 10,000 at one school could get you all tuition and books covered, but 10,000 at a different school could be a drop in the bucket. Like, those are really big questions to ask. And, one of the things that there is so much information, and listen, I get it. Two things. I have been there, and I'm also a parent. Like, I'm fixing to go through a college journey myself pretty quick from a parent standpoint, quicker than I probably want to, but it, money does play into it. And I'm not saying that definitely don't look for the coach that gives you the most money, but don't make that be your big, end all be all deciding factor, because the last thing you want to do is invest money at one school because they did give you the most money, and maybe you buy a house, or you set some rent up, or something, and they get halfway through that semester and the coach, they're butting heads, they don't get along well, or the team isn't a good vibe, or the structure isn't right. Like, there's just a lot of different things that should come into play. And we haven't even talked about how many times an average college student changes their major. We don't even need to talk about that, because I feel like that's a given. And I was not going to change my major. I knew exactly what I wanted to be until I had a very severe injury, and I wanted nothing to do with the medical world after that. Like, I'm done. I don't need to do that anymore. So I think that things happen outside of the typical major change that need to be taken into consideration. And those are the types of questions that nobody even thinks about. Like, it's one thing to think about the questions to ask the coach, but as a parent, I'm really starting to have more conversations about parents of freshmen, parents of sophomores, about really kind of drilling into who their child is, who their student athlete is, and what's going to be a good fit for them. Um, are are they organized? Are they driven? Are they positive? Do they is professional development, like self-help type? Are they kind of into that swing? Um, do they like consistency? Do they enjoy working out? Do they work out by themselves? Do they want to work out with the team? What's going to provide them more support? Do they need support? Or, maybe they don't need support at all, and that really doesn't have anything to do with it. Because then, once you can answer those questions as a parent and a student athlete, because at one point it's both that should be having these conversations, then you can start watching those videos in the College Rodeo 101 space, where I'm having these conversations with coaches, and you get just a little snippet of the personality of the coaches, of the personality of the program, of the structure of the program. And it's kind of what comes first, the cart or the horse, the chicken or the egg, the cart or the horse. If you don't understand what your needs are as a student athlete, or what fits your personality as a student athlete, you can watch every single one of those interviews and still not know what is a good fit for you. You have all the information, you have all the context, but you're still not been able to answer the questions for yourself. And so I think it's kind of twofold, making sure that we're talking to parents about having those conversations, but also providing that information about the coaches.
Yeah, you make a great point there, and like degree changes and stuff. And one of the things that when I consider now hindsight, and looking at that process and preparing my children when they come to that point, which will be a minute, so I have time to do that, is figuring out, one, what does your kids love to do? What do they enjoy doing? Because if you go to college just for the experience, look, if you can afford it and that's the thing, then by all means go for it. However, if you really are looking at this as a career, right, and as this education setting you up for something that you're going to love doing for the rest of your life, you don't have to necessarily have anything specific when you start that process. Uh,
Yes.
but but there's certain paths you can take within that education. If you do, enjoy that kind of medical field, you can go that route. Well, there's so many different degrees. My wife, she got her bachelor degree in cell and molecular biology, and she
Gee.
had every plan to be a doctor. And she had a couple brain surgeries. So that really impacted her. And so then she was able to take that degree though and transition it into athletic training where she could go and get her master's degree. And she absolutely loves it. And she has a good career right now that she needed to go to college for, but she understood the direction of what she wanted to go. And that opened the door for many different careers and opportunities within that. And, I think that it's easy in high school to think, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But you need to consider as well, broadly speaking, what do you love doing? And,
Yes.
and then going the direction, at least in your bachelor degree, of, okay, well, if I go this direction, now once I get this degree, I have all of these different options that I could specialize in. And, I think that's one thing that most people don't consider as an athlete at that time. Like I was so gung ho on just rodeo, I didn't even consider those questions. And you make a great point with parents. As parents, we should be very involved with, developing our kids to be able to make sure that they understand how to make those decisions that they're going to lead to something far beyond just, the experience of college.
Yeah.
And I think that's the involvement in the high school. If you could expand a little bit more on like what this looks like within the high school rodeo and some of my school, they didn't have high school rodeo. Just found out the other day they do now. And but I don't know that they have a coach and how that works either. So
Yeah, I mean, I think every state is kind of structured a little bit different. We had in Wyoming, specifically in Casper, where I live, my parents were kind of the high school rodeo sponsors. Like they kind of oversaw and organized practice and put everything together. And I think it's been formatted or structured like that for many years because I think my grandparents did it too for my mom. So there's not really a program per se through the schools, but I think that through partnerships with the state associations and the national association, um, we don't have Little Britches in Wyoming, but I know it's very strong in some other states. And so I think through those partnerships and trying to get out in front of um, more out in front of junior high and like lower classmen, high school students and parents to make sure that they're kind of preparing. I think by the time you're a freshman or freshman, I feel like it's still a little early, but by the time you're a freshman, sophomore, definitely junior, you kind of have a clear path, or at least if rodeo is going to be where you get your scholarship or what you want to keep doing after high school. And I think at that point, then we can start having these conversations that maybe were happening behind closed doors, but just weren't happening maybe as much as they should. Asking the kids, not just what do you want to be when you grow up, because that's the common question. Like, I want to be an adult. I have no idea past that what's going to happen. And like just kind of digging in, what motivates you? What are you passionate about? What do you like to do? You know, I can see in my 12-year-old daughter, she has more compassion in her pinky than most people do in their entire bodies. And so I'm already like asking those questions. Well, you really like to care for people. What about being a nurse? Or, what would you think about being a teacher? So I'm kind of asking those questions right now, not necessarily telling her what she is going to be when she grows up, but trying to give her some opportunity, some different things to think about. Because also, I think it's really easy for us to think very small rather than, you can do anything and this is how you get there. Like you can do anything, you can become president. And if that's what interests you, let's talk about what you have to do to get there.
hey there, folks. I want to tell you about my favorite cowboy hat brand, Sombrero Brands. As a professional bull rider, I know how important it is to have a hat that not only looks good, but can withstand the toughest rides out there. And that's exactly what Sombrero Brands delivers. Their hats are custom fitted and shaped to perfection, with a level of attention to detail that's hard to find these days. But what really sets Sombrero Brands apart is the fact that they're a family-owned and operated business. Mark and Kendall Holler, the owners, and their daughter Sarah, who's only 13 but already a hat-making prodigy, are all passionate about their craft. They know what it takes to make a cowboy hat that can stand up to anything the rodeo circuit can throw at it. And get this, the founder's grandfather, Polly Holler, was born and raised at South Camp on the Four Sixes Ranch. These folks have got cowboy blood running through their veins, and it shows in every hat they make. That's why I'm proud to have Sombrero Brands as a major sponsor for my podcast, the Rodeo Wagon Podcast. So if you're in the market for a hat that's tough enough to handle anything the rodeo throws at it, give Sombrero Brands a try. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. What's up, everybody? I'm thrilled to announce a fantastic partnership between the Rodeo Wagon Podcast and Rodeo Life Official. Rodeo Life isn't just a coffee brand, it's a veteran-owned business that epitomizes the principles of hard work, dedication, and perseverance in all their products. As an avid consumer of Rodeo Life coffee, I am proud to align myself with a company that mirrors my values and resonates with our audience. Supporting this veteran-owned business is not only a testament to our shared ethos, but also a way to give back to those who have served our country. This partnership promises exciting content, collaborations, and surprises for all our listeners and the rodeo community. You can anticipate special episodes featuring the Rodeo Life experts and even a chance to win some Rodeo Life merchandise. We look forward to this journey with Rodeo Life and the enriching experience it will bring our audience. Join us as we venture into this partnership, fueled by a passion for rodeo and a great cup of Rodeo Life coffee. Stay tuned for more exciting updates and the amazing things to come from the Rodeo Wagon Podcast and Rodeo Life Official. Make sure you go to rodeolifeofficial.com and check out all their sweet merch. Are you searching for that perfect statement? Look no further than Bluegrass Engraving, where creativity meets craftsmanship. Their specialty lies in creating custom buckles and dip cans, but that's not all. They redefine elegance with an exquisite line of jewelry, and for those who appreciate a little flair, check out their engraved guns collection. At Bluegrass Engraving, they don't just create products, they craft experiences. Visit Bluegrass Engraving today and let them turn your visions into engraved realities. Bluegrass Engraving, where artistry meets authenticity.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram. I'm
Oh,
kind of an Enneagram
yeah.
dork, to be honest with you. I'm super excited. I'm actually gonna be partnering with an Enneagram coach to provide a 3 to 4 part series in the community to talk about what the Enneagram can do for high school kids. It kind of blows my mind to think about it, because if I would have known what I know about myself now, if I would have known that then, I could have made some better choices that would fit who I am. And so I'm super excited to bring that into the community. So now I'm interested. What number are you?
Okay, so to be honest, my parents, my mom and dad, pretty much my whole family has done this, and I have
Oh my
yet
gosh.
to do it. So
Oh,
look, I know what it is because like my family, we have a chat on Facebook called the Jones Chat, and so we all communicate.
yeah.
And it's a big thing, especially around holiday season and just throughout the year. And yeah, so all my sisters have done it and my dad and everybody but me.
I feel like you're digging your heels in now,
Yeah, now
which
I kind of
tells
have
us,
to do it. Now you said it, I'm like, man, now I'm not just getting it from my family, it's outside of it.
listen, that tells us a little bit about what number you are. So I am an 8, which there's not 8 women tend to get a bad rap, but I embrace it. It just is who I am. So I'm just saying, like, if you have a little bit of self-awareness, then you can make those choices to what school you want, what structure will fit you better based on, even any personality test would be helpful as well. Like,
Yeah, not quite as
just kind
in
of,
depth, but
yep,
helpful.
just getting insight about what makes you tick, what motivates you, what pushes you. Those are really helpful things that can, you know, help answer questions about you and help give you questions to ask to coaches and to rodeo programs, to even just to the registrar's office, because you want to know about the school as much as you want to know about the rodeo program. So I would encourage you to take that test.
I'm gonna tell my sister and my dad, sisters. I have three of them, so
Oh goodness.
yeah, I'm the only boy.
We should talk about that, because we have 3 girls and 1 boy.
Oh,
How many pictures of you in tutus are there floating around?
Oh man, I don't have very many tutus, but I will say growing up, I played a lot of Barbies and G.I. Joe. Like that was definitely a thing. And I didn't have
Yes.
any choice in the matter. That was just
Well, not
that
with
was
twin
happening.
sisters.
Because I'm the youngest too. So it wasn't like I got to start the process. No, I was the last one to go through
Yeah, you definitely didn't have a choice. The same with our little guy.
it.
He's he's played plenty of Barbies. And I would say my girls know so much about Minecraft and truck. So it works. It works out. Um, so the other thing that I think there's different tiers in the platform. And so I think based on where you are in your recruitment process, it can be beneficial at the different tiers. Um, I would say if you are later, maybe junior or senior, and maybe you don't need to ask yourself questions. Maybe you have a little bit more, um, maybe your ducks are a little bit more in a row. The minimum tier, the bottom tier, I guess what I would call, is just the community, and that gives you access to the directory, the searchable directory. There's also a rodeo mom and dad group and the parent speak group where we talk to parents that are currently going through that journey. Um, you get access to that. It's $9.99 a month or $100 for the year. So uh, nobody's getting rich by any
Yeah,
means,
yeah,
and on purpose,
yeah.
because if on purpose, because I know that you're answering that question, I'm going where there's the most money. And so we're not here to add to that expense by any means. And we see value, like I see value in the community. So that
And
level, you
I
get
would I
access
would
to
add
the
to that.
directory.
I would add to that that, even for like that price point, to spend $100 a year and to have access to the community where you can ask the right questions, that
Yes,
could save you thousands of dollars
yes.
in where you decide to go and even through that entire process.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
because
mean,
it's expensive to
even
change
if
your
you're
mind.
not, yeah, I mean, even if you're not getting in the VIP recruitment level, you're still finding value. I would add, when you sign up, you'll be prompted to fill out this profile. So here's where that little piece of personal responsibility comes in, because if you sign up and you don't fill out your profile, not only are you not, well, using your $100 to its maximum like potential, but coaches can't find you. So when I say that it's a searchable directory, it's searchable to the extent that you fill your profile out. And I'll tell you, there's some students in there and there's some coaches in there right now that have not filled out their profile. So if you fill out your profile and you indicate that you are a student athlete and you compete in, I'll take you for example, you compete in the bull riding and you don't care where you go, like you select any region and you select um, business program because that's what you're interested in. Or maybe you haven't narrowed it down, but you're thinking like business, agriculture,
Yeah,
broadcast journalism. Pick a few, pick a few, because why limit yourself, right?
right, right.
So click search, boom, all the colleges pop up that have business, agriculture, broadcast journalism, and they are located in, well, we selected any region, so it's going to be broad. But if you know what you would like to go to school for, then you don't have to worry about those other programs. You don't have to sift through those. This searchable directory has already done that for you. And, on the other side, if you're a rodeo coach and you have, let's say it's July and you still have some scholarship money, and maybe you would like one more all around cowgirl to kind of round out your women's team, then you can come in. I'm hoping that you haven't waited this long, but something happens. We know it does.
Right.
You can come into the community and you can search student athlete. I'm going to select 3 girls events because I want an all around. So I'm going to select breakaway, goat tying, barrel racing, and then select your region and all the academic programs that you offer. Because you don't just offer business, you
Right.
have nursing and journalism and psychology, all the things. And then you hit search and 5 girls pop up. And actually, I'm thinking about it. I probably need to have a committed or available
Oh
button
yeah.
in there. then I'm going to reach out to those 5 girls and say, hey, I see that you're still in the recruitment platform and you haven't made a commitment this fall. I would love to have you come and tour the college, or let's talk about what our options are here at this school. So there's some benefit to filling out your entire profile.
And I
If
think
you are real, go for it.
for coaches, you just mentioned that and it made me think. So when I went there, I got offered a scholarship, which I really didn't need because of which, and looking back, I probably should have never been offered a scholarship based on my bull riding, just to cover that. But anywho, so I got that. Well, the coach at the time that I talked to that I did my tour with was not the coach when I went to college. So there are the
Oh,
transition in coaches that happened between me talking to him, during my senior year to when I went to school. And so for a coach, that could be really valuable, especially if you're a new coach that's coming in and you haven't had all this prep time. You haven't
yes.
been in it, right? Grinding. So you're kind of new, like that information on all of the students, committed, non-committed, what they're going for, who's actually out there that's looking. That could be really valuable to a coach as well.
Yeah, and I think I didn't tell you guys this. There's also 3 places as a student athlete or a coach that you can provide a link for a video. So as a student athlete, hopefully by the time you're a junior, you are putting together multiple videos and just adding more and more runs to your kind of recruitment profile. But as a coach, you can put a college tour in there. Maybe you have a drone footage of what the rodeo facilities look like or what the whole college looks like. You can put up to 3 competition links. There's Facebook links and Instagram links. And I'm telling you, there is so many conversations going on with young student athletes right now. If you don't put your link in, they're still going to find you on Facebook. They're still going to look for you on Instagram, and they're going to scroll all the way back and see what kind of little human you are. So,
It's funny because when I went to school, like when I went to college, it was really like Facebook was relatively new. I don't even know if Instagram was there in 2012. All of that world was relatively new. Now
yeah,
you look at it and I mean, everybody is on it. Everybody's on social all the
I
time.
feel like we were lucky because Facebook didn't exist, social media didn't exist. So we were lucky. Like, we didn't have to worry about somebody snapping a picture of something they didn't need to be snapping a picture of. So, but what it's done is created a level of personal responsibility in our young kids, but student athletes for sure. And I talk to kids all the time. There's going to be a section conversation in the outside the arena portion that we talk about social media do's and don'ts. You have to ride for the brand, and your brand is Heidi Foy and Kyle Jones.
Mm.
And if you want, like, this is your business. So you need to represent yourself in the best manner that you can. We've all heard the stories of student athletes losing their scholarships because of something they posted on Twitter or something they said when they were 15. I mean, let's be frank. 15-year-olds say stupid stuff all the time. And I mean, social media, adults say stupid stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you have to carry yourself in a different light this day and age, because rodeo coaches, administrators, uh, everybody's looking at your social media. So we have those conversations. I also have those really hard conversations with parents. Like, this is a conversation for the parent to have. And when you come into my platform, we're going to reiterate a lot of those parent conversations, because I'm a parent and I know that my kids will listen to the exact same thing that I've said from a stranger like 10 times better than when I say it. So we're going to reiterate some of those things that parents have already been saying.
Yeah, that's smart too, because I mean, there's going to be some that have, developed and they're just more mature through high school. And
Yeah.
then there's some that are less mature and they haven't reached that maturity yet, and that changes from student to student. One of the other things I guess that was really fascinating to me when I first started the process that I didn't know existed was the scholarships in rodeo. And I know that you guys do a lot with, finding scholarships. I know now, like, going through, even these last, 3, 4 years that I've doing online stuff, like the amount of grants out there and the amount of help there really is to kind of
Yeah.
mitigate some of those high costs. So what's that process like on Bullfrogs Creatives and helping students access scholarships?
Yeah, so that's a really good transition kind of to our next tier of the subscription. The next tier of subscription is called the VIP recruitment coaching. This is the section that you'll find all the college rodeo, the weekly spotlight interviews with college rodeo coaches, alumni interviews, a section that I I call it outside the arena. There's going to be a lot of life skills talked about in this section, but I know if I call it life skills, nobody's going to click in there. So, but I mean, it's important things that can help you be successful in and out of the arena. So, I'll come back around to that because I want to answer your scholarship question. The one corner that I am super excited about and is very, very full at the moment is the scholarship corner. Show me the money. And I originally started out posting kind of industry related scholarships because just industry related, Farm Credit Services, Justin Boots, Rodeo Houston has scholars, like there's scholarship opportunities all over within our community. And there's scholarship opportunities all over everywhere. I would say there's probably over 50 different scholarships, and I post a new one every day. So at some point, we're going to pass all those deadlines and they're going to be like, that's going to be defunct at that point. But
Sure.
I'm going to leave them in there. I'll update them as I can. There's hundreds of scholarships and scholarships that, I mean, are nothing. Like it takes this much effort to get that $500 scholarship.
Yeah.
All I had to do was submit a video by my phone and say, answer a question or, something. There's so many different scholarships available to offset the cost. I was on scholarship and I got student loans. So I have that burden of that debt
Mhm.
with me still. Um, but I really don't think that has to be like that. I think that there's enough scholarship money around. You just have to put a little bit of effort into it. And I will say, don't start as a senior, start as a junior, because there are some that you can apply for as a junior that will help you refine your skills so that by the time you get to applying for scholarships as a senior, you can knock out a 5 paragraph essay, 1,000 word essay, whatever that looks like, super easy because you have worked on your grammar, you've worked on your content, you were practicing down here as a junior, and now you can step up your game as a senior. Like,
I
don't wait.
I like to think holistically too, and just like that whole process and connecting the dots of, that process of getting scholarships that route. And then most people just think of like rodeo scholarships, like I'm getting X amount of dollars from the school. But you may find that this program offers you a less of a scholarship on the rodeo side, but you like that program. Whereas you could go to this other program where you get more money on the rodeo side, but you're not quite into that program quite as much. Well, the program that you like is what you really probably should go for. And so to be able to utilize all these other scholarships available, you may be able to actually get to that point where, both schools are really offering you the same. It may take
Yeah.
a little bit more work, but I mean, discipline is something you probably should start a little bit early because certainly that's going to come into play once you get into college.
Yeah. And, I think that it's really easy to be prideful at this age, and especially for the rodeo athlete. And I'm going to speak from my experience. Like, I wasn't great in high school. I peaked in college. And so when it came around to my senior year, I I am very open about this. I tied for fourth place in the state to make it to the high school finals. Like, talk about barely making it. And so I didn't have people knocking down my door, but when I got my scholarship, I was so prideful. Like, I didn't reach out to other colleges. I got this one scholarship and that's where I went. But I
Mhm.
was so prideful about I'm on a full ride. I got a full ride. I got a full rodeo scholarship. Like, listen, it's really not about that. Is that sound cool? That does sound cool. Like, it still sounds cool. I still find myself in that, like, I went to college on a rodeo school. Like, I still say that, and I laugh every time I do. Like, who cares? You're 40 something years old. Nobody cares anymore. So don't get caught in that kind of competing. Oh, this is funny. Competing with the Joneses.
It's a tough task for some.
It is. Yeah. Don't get caught in
Yeah.
that. Like, just try to do the best you can for yourself. And, if you have to bring a $500 scholarship from your state association and a $500 scholarship from the place that your dad's worked for 20 years and $1,000 from here and a little, like, make it work for you so you can go to the place that fits for you. It's not about the pride thing. It's really about your future and making the best choice for you.
Yeah, for sure. I, I I think too, one thing that I really like about what you're doing is again that community side
Yeah.
and the ability to be able to actually connect. So it's not just information you're scrolling through, you can see, but you can actually talk to people. So
Yes.
kind of go in a little bit on that feature within, Bullfrog Creatives.
So this was something that was really important to me. I know that there's some other, um, we live in the land of mini course and podcast. Here we
Yeah.
are. And it's really easy to sit back and drink from that water hose and get all that information. But one of the things that I think I learned later in life was that it is, and still is to this day, the relationships that I have built over the time in my life that mean the most to me. And not only mean the most to me, but have created the most opportunities for me. And so if we can start talking to our student athletes about those opportunities now, and the people that you meet in college are your people. These are your opportunity makers, are the people that you meet in college. And specifically in our industry, it is, if I have learned anything since launching Bullfrog Creatives in 2019, they say that the world, it's probably more now or less now, but we are separated by what 5 to 7 degrees of separation from at any given moment. Like, someone that I know that knows someone, like,
Yep.
it's not very much. I would say that in the rodeo world, it's even less.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. I went to the National Land Conference last week in Kentucky and met an agent from Texas who had watched one of my NFR hangover shows because he grew up with one of the co-hosts. And we were like, oh my gosh, high five, like high fives and instant family, because they're your people. They're in the rodeo world.
Yeah.
And that has been my experience from day one, starting to have these conversations. So if you can recognize that now, then you also can register that sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. And
And I don't really like that, except it, like, start building those connections now. So one thing that I also love about the rodeo industry is that there's so many new job opportunities in the Western world. Whether you want to thank Yellowstone or the Cowboy Channel or whoever you want to thank, there are more opportunities in the Western world now than there ever has been before. I mean, Pam Minnick blazed a trail when it came to interviews behind the chutes and having those athlete conversations, like, blazed a trail.
yeah.
And only now, I mean, you can think back, how long ago was Pam Minnick doing those interviews? Only now are there good, solid job opportunities in that field. And so if you are building these connections now as a junior, senior, freshman, sophomore, junior in college, you are setting yourself up for success after college. So one of the things that has been my goal from day one, it's a personal mission of mine, it's a mission of mine in real estate, it's a mission of mine in Bullfrog Creatives, is to create opportunities to build relationships. And every job that I've ever had, be it in nonprofit or doing this, it's always been about the people I meet, the people that I serve, and the relationships that I build. And so if this community provides that opportunity for parents, for students, for coaches, to not just get a recruit, or not just find a college, but to build those relationships. Because as a parent now, how much ease, like my mind is put so much at ease when I know the coach, not just met the coach, but I know the coach because I've been communicating with them. I've watched their interview here. I've messaged them. They've messaged my kid. I've watched them interact with other students on the platform. I know them. And now my mind is at ease because I know that my kid is being taken care of. And the same with that student athlete. Like they've been able to build a relationship and they already have good rapport with that coach before we even talk about a letter of intent. And
Yeah.
I think that that is the end all be all of the program, of the whole recruitment platform, is that building those relationships.
Yeah, and networking is part of your personal brand as well.
Yeah.
And the people that really do well network well, it's not we can think of it in the negative side of it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there is a negative side there when you get into political aspects, but at the same time, networking can it can inform you. It can provide you opportunities that you would have never, even if you had all the information in the world, you would have never known to exist. And right now, the Western demographic is expanding, and there's lots of jobs that are becoming available. And look at all these, there's tons from, you know, tech companies to, sound, like getting into that and, these productions and what goes on in these productions and all the jobs available, and there's so many of them. And so as the technology continues to grow, it's going to expand those job opportunities. So by having a vision of like, hey, I love rodeo, but I also love this, and then knowing that when you go through that process, you're developing through college, that's an avenue of really honing in on that discipline. But then the networking is important as well, because as you network and you get to know the right people, and you're not a piece of crap, and you actually build good relationships with people, that opens the door really for the future beyond just rodeo itself.
Yeah.
And I'm a big advocate, by the way. I'm a really big advocate that the people that do this professionally at the highest level are far and few between. And it's not the backbone of this industry. And if we focus only on that professional realm, we've lost sight of the foundation of this industry and this demographic. I respect the guy who works 40 hours a week and goes in rodeos because he loves it as much as I do the guy that's training 40 hours a week to go make a living doing it. If you love what you're doing. So I think getting back to that foundation is so helpful.
Yeah. And I'll take even one step further. I think that if we are focusing only on those junior high and high school kids that are winning those national titles, we are losing out on high quality human beings.
Yeah.
Because, and obviously, y'all know I did not do well in high school, but I peaked in college. I kicked some butt in college. And I will tell you the reason why. Because I had people, I call it my boardroom. I had people in my boardroom that believed that I could and supported me every step of the way, be it fellow teammates, um, a coach from a different college, even. I mean, I'm talking about this, and there are faces that are popping up in my own memory of those people that were at my table. And had they not have believed in me and given me that opportunity, who knows what would have happened. I think that this program in particular is going to provide those opportunities for those students that aren't winning the national titles. And it goes hand in hand with those athletes that are at the pro level. Like, not everybody is winning the gold buckle, and they still bring value to this industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those that aren't still bring value to our industry. And it's the same thing at the high school level. It's the same thing at the collegiate level. There's a lot of kids that go that coaches aren't talking to because they can't, and not because they're only looking for national champions. I don't want you guys to hear me wrong. It's because
Mhm.
coaches at the collegiate level for college rodeo have such a tight budget, if they have one at all, They may not even have an assistant coach, and they can't be everywhere. They can't be at every state high school finals. They can't be at not all the coaches can make it to the national high school finals. And so even those kids that do make it to the high school finals may get overlooked because coaches can't be everywhere at the same time. I mean, I think the CNFR is at the same time as Texas state finals.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a big draw out of Texas. I think it's Texas. I could totally be wrong, but they can't be at the college finals and at those high school finals at the same time. They just can't. And so they're going to miss people. They don't have recruiters. They don't have a recruitment budget. And so building those relationships within this community, I will tell you, Facebook has definitely made the process a little bit easier. And this recruitment community is going to take it one step farther and give you
Yeah.
one place to go. We're going to give you one page to visit to see coaches and get other information that can help you be successful in and out of the arena.
And I think too, just to clarify as well, and we both agree on this, if you're a high level athlete, look, my buddy Mason Lowe was on the BFTS at the time while he was going to college. And he's not the only one. I mean, look at Dalen Swearingen. There's multiple guys, at the high level of every single one that's doing college. And again, that's a great place to find a coach that is going to help you navigate a professional career with also making sure that you are going a path that's going to help you beyond that.
Listen, we could name athletes all night. Tristan Hutchings.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I'm drawing a blank. Haven Medjid. There's another tie down roper that I can see him clear as mud, clear as day, and I can't remember his name. But like, there's all sorts of student athletes that are going on both ends, professional and collegiate level, and those coaches absolutely can provide assistance for that because that can be a real hard transition too. It's not just enter as much as you can and go. Like there's some
Right.
strategy behind going to professional rodeos. And so, there's some value in collegiate rodeo to kind of get on the curve and learn what you need to know. So I would say that the VIP recruitment level is for those student athletes that maybe can't answer those questions about themselves yet and maybe don't quite know what kind of program they're looking for. So the things inside that level that can help you with that, the outside the arena section is going to be really helpful. So that's where that Enneagram series is going to be held. We have a partnership with Champion Living Fitness to talk about the transition physically that you're going to see to transition successfully from high school to collegiate competition. They do physical fitness and provide specific workouts based on what event you do. I also was informed that there's a rodeo mom workout. So
Oh.
I'm going to, yeah, I'm like, yeah, you're speaking my language now. There's a specific workout for goat tires. Like if any of you have been injured, you know full well that when you go to PT and you tell them what your sport is, they have no clue what to tell you to do to strengthen for that sport. Like I was bringing video in so they could see and maybe help me to overcome some of my injuries in high school and college. And they still didn't know what to do. So this is a huge benefit. Other partnerships we have, Crave Coaching and Consulting is a partner of ours, and they do mental performance coaching.
Okay.
Not just one-offs, but like long-term mental performance coaching. What does your pregame routine look like? Is it the same every time? Through conversation with this mental performance coach, you figure out that you weren't breathing right there, and that's why you were dropping your elbow, or that's why you were, whatever it looks like, but super drilled in to help you with your mental performance. Those types of conversations are happening in that outside the arena space. Other things that are less than fun to have conversations about, but certainly necessary, what it looks like to sign a rental contract.
Yeah.
Like how many of you guys actually read your rental contract before you signed it? I didn't. I needed to live, whatever. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about financial literacy, time management. So when your mom is not there to tell you where to go and where to be all the time, or your dad's not there, or you don't have the structure that you're used to, how are you going to get to class on time? How are you going to get to class, carry 12 credit hours, a minimum of 12 credit hours, and fit rodeo practice in? And maybe you have to work. How are we going to do this? So we're going to have some time management classes available in that section. Just kind of a little bit of everything, and things that we've seen on our end. Trailer safety, trailer maintenance, truck maintenance.
Important.
If you didn't do that before, which, listen, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of student athletes that were doing it.
Right.
That's great. Don't go to that one. Keep what works, leave the rest.
Yeah.
But we're trying to provide information that maybe your parents have been telling you for a really long time, but it's coming from your parents. So it's all you hear is Charlie Brown's teacher. So like, we're probably going to repeat what your parents have said, but I think it's really important to get some of that information out there. Balancing
Okay.
a checkbook.
Yeah. So and everything that you're doing, I feel like we've really covered, a lot of what Bullfrog Creatives is doing.
Yes.
There's obviously a lot more to get into, and it definitely helps people to be able to like look into this stuff. So what are the places that they can find you? They can find the information that they need to kind of take that initiative, maybe to start looking into this community and what you're doing.
Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. Listen, as much as I would welcome one-on-one conversations with everyone, that's my style, right? Oh, that's a lot. So check out bullfrogcreatives.com. There's a little bit more information about the tiers, the subscription tiers, what's available, how much each tier is. It is kind of progressive. So if you decide you're going to drop in at the middle or the first level at 100 a year, and then you want to bump up, it's not an additional charge. Like, you just prorate it and step up, and vice versa. If you come in at the middle but you want to step back, it's prorated. You can step back. So bullfrogcreatives.com is probably your best outlet. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. A little bit of everything on both of those. But I have delved into College Rodeo out of a kind of trying to provide a solution for things that I have heard over the last several years. Student athletes were reaching out to me. Parents were reaching out to me wanting to schedule Zoom calls because they didn't know where to start. And the first Zoom call happened in 2020. And that gal, they lived in Atlanta, Georgia, just didn't have as much knowledge about the rodeo scene. She ended up going to school at Cal Poly. I think she's just about done now.
Cool.
And it was a great fit. And I didn't do anything but talk about what my experiences were. And I think that providing some solutions is obviously where businesses start.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's kind of where it came from.
Man, it's been awesome having you on. Guys, also check out, there's tons of different testimonies from people that have went through this process. I saw Flint on there, Logan Corbett.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different videos that you can actually get a little bit of knowledge from in doing that. So make sure you go to bullfrogscreative.com, check out their socials, and guys, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Kyle.